So, my own translation would be last night, when the radiance of our assembly to her abashed chamber retired, each candle wick became a thorny prick at its shade from the desired. And it's a little bit naughty, but Ghalib was only 19 years old when he wrote it. But there is a possible Islamic meaning of a pious kind. The Prophet Muhammad's body shone by its own light. In fact, in the 17th century, there was a controversy as to whether Prophet Muhammad's, in India, at the court of Shah Jahan, there is a controversy as to whether Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, whether he shed a shadow like ordinary people. But let me not go into that. The point is that Prophet Muhammad, his example and his just even saying his name, it has a beneficent effect. That, so I don't want to go into that, some theological point. And Ghalib was, he did not know Arabic, but still, he did his best to try to create an ecumenical atmosphere to reconcile people of different sects. So let's leave it at that. So the point is that Hegde Sahib, wonderful gentleman, he has completely misused what may be called semiotic analysis. Now, semiotic analysis is context-based. That you look at the context and you see how the system of science functions. So, for example, you can do a semiotic analysis of economic transactions, debits and credits and banks and, that sort of thing. And what you can't do is what this gentleman is doing, which is to do a shoddy hermeneutic interpretation. Hermeneutic means interpretation. To interpret something in a way of your own liking. That's hermeneutics, that's not semiotics. So, ultimately what Hegde comes up with is really, it's nonsense. And this is how he writes. He says, the candle wicks are a thorn in the fānūs. Fānūs means the shade, the lampshade, but fānūs can also mean tattletale. Candle wicks are a thorn in the fānūs robes, but fānūs is tattler, therefore the candle wicks are a thorn in the tattler's robes. And this is all meaningless. This is meaningless. A tattler, you see, if there is fānūs and there is a candle, then somebody else must be present for it to be able to tell a tale. Somebody else must be within the visual field. But there is no such suggestion in Ghalib. So he says, but tattler semiotically signifies a candle. No, that's not true. A tattler, from the hermeneutic point of view, may signify something else. Yeah, that's possible. Hermeneutic, not semiotic. That's a fundamental error. So semiotics is an economy of science, and it is regulated. It is a matter of solving coordination and discoordination problems. I know this is not a point that he could have read in the books available to him, but you see, the people who wrote those books, some of them were smart, and other people were even smarter. In the tradition of Pierce, C.S. Of the great American, they have solved these problems. You can't go on referring to books written 50 years ago by stupid people like Roland Barthes. He's an idiot, because he didn't understand economics. And these things semiotics is about economics, because signs are costly to make, costly to process. And, we've had Kolmogorov, you've had Martin Loaf, you've had so many people who have made possible this computer and the way that we're speaking, and it's because that is what they deal with is a real semiotic field, not this nonsense. Hegde is thinking that semiotics means I can take any text and turn it into any other text so that I can talk about what I want. But this is very false. So ultimately he comes down to, after re-signifying 39.1's key lexemes, let us translate it anew. At night, when the beloved made love bashfully, every Hegde's pants were on fire, causing his prick to shrivel up like a thorn. Oh, I beg your pardon, I'm sorry, that wasn't Hegde, that was my own version. What was his version? At night, when the beloved made love bashfully, every candle's wick pricked the candle like a thorn. So, how the hell would my candle or your candle know that some beloved is making love bashfully or non-bashfully or, there is no husni talil, there is no beauty in etiology, here. It's just nonsense. It's a great pity, but there it is. And, it's very sad that I think that, people like Frances Pritchett, she's a professor and, she knows good English. And she should say to people that, look, don't write nonsense. Because, whether the rule for a professor at Columbia should be the same as the rule for a student in middle school or in high school, which is that you have to pay attention to the text, you have to have an eleatic manner of proceeding, and, you shouldn't write nonsense. It's very sad, I feel, because if Satyanarayana Hegde, if he had been told by Shamsur Rahman Farooqi or somebody else of that same caliber that, look, Ghalib is not a perfect human being. He took some wine. He would take wine. He did not have unblemished character with respect to ladies. But he is a very good man. He is very, very faithful to his wife. He didn't divorce her or do anything like that. He never shamed her, never humiliated her. He looked after his elder brother, who's sadly mentally ill. And he worked hard. He worked hard. And he poured his love and devotion he was tafsili, I'll be frank. But he was not a Shia, he was not this, he was not that, he was Akbari. He was not Usuli, he was Akbari. You see, the reason that great orthodox ulema of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, other places, but especially India, Deobandi, Barelvi, all types, Maulana Azad, you see, they would quote Ghalib. Because even from the age of 19, and that was when this verse was written, or maybe a little late, I've forgotten. But he was very sensitive to the greatness of the Islamic philosophy and theodicy, such that people could behave very well and not go and kill people and run amok. Anybody can do that. Nazis could do that. They had no God, but they killed a lot of people. So, and they failed, So I feel that at this time, especially insofar as I come from a part of India other than Tamil Nadu, from my accent you can see I'm Madrasi. But I've spent 3 years in Delhi and my parents settled there, and I love the place because my parents love the place. दिल वाले हैं, दिल्ली के जो भी हैं वो दिल वाले हैं. And if we can admit that Islam is a religion, just as Vaishnavism or anything, it's approach, then you lose then neither is there some instigation on their part that they feel that they have to do something, or on our part. And let's face it, in India, majority is Hindu. And when Hindus are attacked, the proof is readily available to us that they counterattack. And of course, the same happens in Pakistan, where Muslims are majority or whatever, So, but I think that the only way forward is not by saying that Ghalib had a Muslim name, but he was a drunkard and he wrote nonsense. No. The truth is, Ghalib wrote sense to the best of his ability, and he was a Muslim. But he was in the style of, of a different, of the older type of Muslim, of the time of Akbar, or even in the time of Shah Jahan. And let me quote one verse, just one verse, that it was written by Abu Talib, who was a great, very, very wonderful poet of that time. And I won't give you the Persian version now. I'll just say what he said in plain terms. He said, majlis-furoz-e, he uses that term. He says that the one who's the radiance of the assembly, whether that assembly is Muslim or it's Hindu or is infidel, doesn't matter. They're one and the same. The light of the assembly, whether for Muslim or Sikh or Isai or Hindu or jo bhi ho, ek hi hai. And he goes further. He says the Kaaba, the spark inside the rock of the Kaaba, is the same spark as in the idols worshipped by the non-Muslim. So there you have it. And that is the majlis-furoz. That is this is the concept that Ghalib is carrying it on. Because he was, there was an emperor, but that emperor, from up till Palam, not even the realm up till Palam was his. But still, you see, you can say that Ghalib is in that tradition of Dara-Shikoh, but Dara-Shikoh, if you look too much, very carefully into his life, you find he did some things which are not the conduct of a gentleman. Whereas I think Ghalib was a gentleman, the emperor he served was a gentleman, but they were both ineffectual. Doesn't matter, we have to look at the glass half full. And the glass is half full for me. For me, glass is half full because he was a genuine Muslim.